Welcome back to the classroom, ladies and gentlemen. Last time we covered engulfing candlesticks. Today we're going to be covering the hammer, is what they call this candlestick right here. This right here, it's called the hammer. It's another one of my favorite candlesticks to look for when we're trying to trade reversals, right? So why is this such a nice candlestick to look for? First off, because it stands out relative to all the other ones, does it not? It stands out, right? Clearly it looks significantly different than the rest. We already went over what wicks mean, right? We already went over that wicks indicate pressure. A longer wick indicates more pressure on whichever side it is. So if it's on the top, a longer wick is more selling pressure. If it's on the bottom, the longer wick is more buying pressure. So because we're seeing such a long wick, this is another reason to look out for it. It's indicating pressure. More specifically, lots of buying pressure, okay? So again, that's another possible indication of a reversal. So how do we identify that this indeed is a hammer candlestick? So there are a few key things you need to understand. First off, it has to come off of a downtrend, right? Price has to be coming off of a downtrend. After that, once you see the body is very small like this, and then there's no real wick at the top. It's very little to no wick at the top. As you can see, I have no wick at the top. So now we've got our box, which would be like a hammerhead, right? Then you have this very long stem. Just because it's a long stem doesn't mean it's a hammer. This is not a hammer, you know, like a reverse hammer. This is not an inverse hammer, which it's called like other things. We'll get into that. It's not called a reverse hammer technically, but this would not be one, right? This would not be one. This would not be a hammer just because it has a long wick and a small one. Those are not hammers. The reason why this is a hammer is, again, because it has the very small wick at the very top or no wick at all, because it's a very small box, right? And then on top of that, the wick, and this is a must, the wick must be at least twice the size of the body, right? It must be at least twice the size of the body. So if I took this body and I put it here, I can fit two of them inside the wick. That would be twice the size, right? I know. Crazy how that works. Hammer candlesticks can be both green and red, right? It can show up on the chart green and red and look exactly the same. They can show up next to each other. Green one candle, and the literal next candle could be another hammer that's red. Does that mean that it's not bullish anymore? No, it doesn't. As a matter of fact, a green hammer candlestick, right, is a stronger indication than a red hammer candlestick that bullish reversal is on its way. They both have to have the same rules in order for it to be a hammer. It has to come off a downtrend, then have the box that has a wick that's twice as long on the bottom side. Boom. It has to have those same rules, right, in order for it to be considered a hammer. However, when you see that it's a red hammer, it's just not as strong of a conviction than when you see it's a green hammer. So why do we have green and red hammers? Well, because of the opening and close price, right? Remember, we know that opening on this would be the same as the previous close, right? So let's say it opened here, and instead of price going up, right, going down to form the wick, then coming back up to close and continue, instead, price decided at open to go down, right, continue down, come back up to form the big wick, but instead of going higher than the opening price like it did on a green one, it closed lower than where it opened, right? But the wick below is so big that it still looks like a hammer. So the candle is red, the body of the candle is red, but it's still a hammer. That's how that works. But it doesn't stop it from being a bullish indicator. It still indicates bullish momentum is following. But yeah, those are the two different types of hammers you could get. You could get a green or a red one. Hammer sticks are not that complicated to understand, so the video should be short. So we'll go over probably dojis on the next one. But yeah, when I catch you, till next time, peace.